No, I want it. Hold on.
Serhan sips. They just go on forever.
This is like the quiet hour on the radio. So it's like
It's ASMR.
It's the worst ASMR.
hey guys, and welcome back to the Quiet Corner with me, your host Serhan today.
Get out of here!
Get out of here!
Don't run with it. Stop doing this. We're not running with it.
I liked it. It's a calm episode. Charlie's not here. We get to be calm. We get to be civil. There's no big dick Charlie here today.
This is the calm episode. We're doing a calm episode today.
This is a calm episode.
No
energy. Plus, I've got a headache, so we're going to be very calm. I'm going to be calm, Serhan, today. Okay.
Got it in-ear headphones as well.
Yeah. I got in-ear headphones. Got my mic plugged in.
Speaking very gentle.
Got my chamomile tea. Yeah, I'm feeling calm and centered. So sorry, Fraser, please take it away, my friend.
Let's get going, shall we? Hello and welcome back.
Don't keep running with it. Don't feed into it. What are you doing?
All right, let's go properly. Welcome back to another Red Jackson episode. I'm hosting for today. My name is Fraser.
I'm Rick.
And I am your calm and centered Serhan today to guide you on this episode. It's your big boy Serhan.
Get out, get back in the corner.
Yeah. But yeah, we're obviously we're a man down. We're missing Charlie.
And
God bless his soul. He didn't listen to your advice. He found that pod in the field, and he had to go and take a look.
He had to be the one to open it.
Yeah.
That message confused the hell out of me. I was like,
I could tell you didn't pick up on it.
I did not. Honestly, all I got was a voice that I'm like barely like lying on the sofa, like watching Avatar. I was like, and it was like click. I was like, there's a pod in a field.
We're back. And today, hopefully Charlie can join us. If he does jump in, it should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to do like a general gaming chat, ask you guys some questions, see what you guys portfolios are like, reminisce on some games we shared together as well.
Yeah, boy, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Can we just put it out there that whatever games we talk about, can we all like kind of put our hand up and say like no spoilers for this particular, just in case if we talk about something the other person hasn't played yet. I don't want to wreck anything. We're all gamers here. We all respect
can do. I think that we'll see what comes up, but we should be fine. I think.
Yeah, no, I think we should be fine as well. But just in case, just in cases, you know what I'm saying?
Just in case.
So yeah, my first question to you guys was going to be, what was your first ever game? Like, what was your first game and first console? What got you into gaming?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
If you cast your minds back, we kind of covered, we probably would have covered a couple of things on older podcasts, like our 90s podcast, and a couple of things that might come up later that we've covered. But for me personally, it was the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my uncle gave it to me. He probably got the PS1, so he was like, I don't need this anymore. Gave it to me when I was like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 or something.
Nice.
I had a couple of games with it, but it definitely had Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
yes,
and I played that to death.
Mate, I would still play that to this day. I still say that the best Sonic game has been on the Mega Drive.
Yeah,
it's Mega Drive in the UK. What was it for outside?
Genesis.
Sega Genesis.
Genesis.
Okay. I think it was the same for me because my sister had the Mega Drive and I kind of played with it, but I think the first console I felt like this is mine, and the first game that I really played like, and I've done everything I could by myself, was probably Nintendo 64 and Ocarina of Time.
Wow, that's a deep one to
Jesus
go
Christ.
into.
Yeah. Like the Mega Drive got me into the idea of gaming. When I got the N64, it came with GoldenEye, so just all bangers all day. And I really but that was still a game that the adults kind of had to help me with, and we played a bit of co-op with my dad, which was a nice memory. But like Ocarina was like, no, this is my shit. This is
nice.
This is all me.
How old was you when you first started playing Ocarina?
I honestly don't know, mate. It was shortly after it came out, and I know I've told this story before, but it was basically we had the N64. We used to play GoldenEye, and my sister went across the road to Blockbusters and rented a game. She must have asked, "Hey, I got a little brother. What would he like?" And the guy was like, "Try this game." So we rented Ocarina. Really enjoyed it. My sister must have told my parents, and they bought it for me. But I'm not entirely sure when, but I know, like, and I think this is the pattern for most of my life. I was late to the game. My mum and dad was a bit resistant and hesitant to buy me consoles and stuff. They wanted to keep that more of that traditional childhood of I really liked toys and keep that jazz involved.
Yeah.
And then they realized that other kids were kind of avoiding coming around my house because I didn't have a console. I wasn't cool.
Yeah.
My mum was like, no, right, we can't kind of segregate him from the flow of everything. And that's when I came into it. So I think I was a bit later than most. But yeah, Ocarina, I was still in primary school. I must have been, I would say about 9 years old.
Dude, that's a big game to finish at 9 years old.
Even
on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's crazy. That's a feather in your cap.
Yeah, but I mean, absolutely. But you're a Metal Gear guy, man, and you played that fucking PS1 days. That's still for me too big of a game back in the day.
I mean, I don't think Metal Gear was my first game. And I definitely did not finish the first Metal Gear when I was younger. It was like if you ever played Metal Gear 1, you know, like the very opening level where you're underground and you gotta get to the elevator on the other side and like soldiers walking around.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. Yeah.
I remember when I was young, I thought that was the game, like just sneaking from one side to the other, because I would spend so long just trying to get to the elevator. Like I didn't realize that there was a whole extra thing behind that. I thought getting to the elevator was the game, because before then, like games weren't really what we consider them to be or what they can be now. They were just very kind of arcadey, same repetitive kind of thing. So I wasn't really expecting a grand fucking adventure out of it. But I don't think that was my first game. I think it might have been like a weird PC game, like a Red Alert or Age of Mythology, or like what are those RTS games called? Age of Empires.
Age of Empires.
Okay,
I think because my dad used to play a lot of those kind of stuff. So when I was younger, I think he was still on his PC gaming kind of stuff, and he used to play a lot of that. So I think that would have been like my first ever exposure to games. Would have likely been something like that.
Those games are quite addictive and like time consuming. Did you get into it like that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like watching the way my dad would play and what you'd have to do and like the resource building and like the fighting and everything. It just seemed really cool. I did eventually get into it after that, but as far as like my first ever game that I was like, this is my game, I'm gonna do it, I think was Devil May Cry 1 on PlayStation 2, I think it might have been, or something like that.
Yeah, PS2.
I think that was like the first game I was like, yeah, this is my game, I'm gonna finish it, and I just smashed the whole game out myself.
Wow.
Big boy game.
That was big boy
Yeah,
game.
how did you end up getting that game? I swear that game would have been like an 18.
I don't know. It might have been one of those trips to Blockbuster that would have done it.
Of course.
I think it would have been one of those. Like, it's got a little red circle with an 18 in it. Can't get
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
He took it to the counter, like with his mum and dad, but he put his thumb over the rating, and he was just like,
this game looks cool. It's got swords.
He's emotional. He's gonna learn something. He's gonna cry. I want to learn. My name's Rikesh. Oh,
god damn! What a game!
But you both had a good point actually, like where you were saying about how games aren't everything they are considered to be now, and like more arcadey and stuff like that. And like with you, Serhan, saying like how your parents wanted to keep you like playing with toys and stuff, being creative and things like that.
In the basement. Was what they originally wanted to do. With
if they wanted to lock me in the basement, they would have bought me the console sooner. I would have stayed voluntarily.
That's fair.
But I feel like, you know, with games and the way they were made back then, we kind of had to use our imagination a bit and get creative with it as well, because they were quite, you know, mechanically limited as well. Like even when they were developing it, they would have had to get creative with what they had available. And usually it was pretty solid what they came out with. I mean, like Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, they haven't really been able to recreate that in the modern day. They haven't. They've really missed. I can't even say hit and miss. They've just missed with recent games, and those games have been ported like countless times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's just one of those games. It's just like one of those staples in gaming, like OG Sonic, Green Hill Zone, like the graphics, the look, the sound, all of it is just like you can't recreate that. That was like perfect for the time that it came out in. And there's some things you can try to emulate, but it's just not gonna work.
I think that's nostalgia after that.
Yeah, like OG Sonic was just something you can't beat.
I think it was like, this is an obvious statement to say, like, it's a product of its time, right? I don't think they knew, just like now, they're going to make something, and I'm sure very rarely you get an idea of this is going to be legendary, this is going to really do well, this is going to last, this is going to be timeless. But because the tech was more limited, obviously, as compared to now, it's like something like a game like Sonic or like Mario, right? It's got that replayability, that slightly addictiveness, but there's still a momentum of narrative that we're very used to. It still moves forward. And it's kind of that sweet spot of almost like the addictiveness of like Tetris with the narrative play that we're kind of used to now. And it's almost like a phone game on a much bigger scale. But back then there was no phone games. This was Discovery. So because it was limited, it was very formulaic in its play, but very intuitive. You could experiment with it, you could push it to its boundaries, and even like speed running really shows how far you can push some of these games. So I think that all inadvertently helped it become the timeless piece it is, whereas now it's because there's so much potential to do stuff
and such a big market.
But it's easier to look at what's absent from games now, like, this can do this much. But it's done so much now, but it's trying to do 10 things well, but rather than just do 2 things and succeed well enough, or there's too many glitches, or this other game done it better. So there's a lot of comparison and shit. But
I think a lot of it as well, kind of like in part of that, it's also like oversaturation with things, because now we just have so many games. It's like Netflix. Like, you go on Netflix, you try and find something to watch, and you spend 20 minutes just flicking through trying to find something good. It's the same thing with games. Like when I want to get a new game, if there's nothing that I already have clear in my mind that I want to play this, I'll flick through the PlayStation Store
catalog,
and I'll sit there for like days and days. Like, do I want this? Does that look good? I'm like checking out reviews and like all this kind of stuff, trying to find like just a decent game to play. And it kind of does come down to like one game will try and do like so many different things, and it's like it spreads itself too thin and it lacks that kind of depth. Or some games try and do too much too quickly, and it's like, what is going on? And you lose me completely. I think it always does kind of come down to what kind of gamer you are and what kind of games you like to play. Because I think that's like a big thing that matters,
Well, should we just kind of I say go around the room like this, but like, should we kind of just go around between us and say, like, at least describe what type of gamers that we are? Because we're all kind of similar, but we've also got our own little niches, I would say.
Yeah. I have our own little quirky niches as well. Like action adventure games. I probably, like, if I was going to like tier list it, I guess action adventure is fairly up there. Platformer you could probably put in with that as well. Like a good fighting game as well. And I think that'll cover it. I like RPGs as well. If those would be my top 3, my 3 go-tos.
Yeah, that's fair. I think same action adventure kind of things, like single player story driven narrative kind of games are what I'm kind of more driven to. Like Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know why that was the first example that popped into my head, but that like games like that.
Good game.
Fucking amazing game. Yeah. Like I'm playing Persona now, Persona 3 Reload.
Yes.
Fucking incredible. Like the single player, like JRPG kind of games, like this is so expansive. Racing games. I love racing games. I don't play a lot of sport games. Like I think that's not absolutely is not my kind of thing. Like FIFA and 2K and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't really play
Only
a lot
play
of
it
those
for a
sport
laugh.
games.
Like somebody else has it and they want to play it for a laugh.
Yeah, that's it. Like every time I play with like FIFA is when we play with Charlie, and he's like, "Yeah, let's play some FIFA." That's the only time I'll force myself to play FIFA. But other than that,
it's funny when you play on the same team.
Yeah,
It's do that.
I think it's the same. I think our gaming genres is very similar to like our music genres, where I'm open to almost any genre and style, but I have my own favorites. And I think like Ocarina just shaped me in that way, and it was kind of reflective of the way I played with toys. I'd get toys, I'd get characters, and I'd build a narrative, and I'd build bases, and I built like an environment in my head. So the gaming kind of reflects that same. So I think like action adventure, open world is very much probably on my top. Fighting games like Tekken is definitely like something I was brought up with a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
I would say like sporty games and racing games, not me at all. I think racing, the closest I got to was in the arcade. Sports is probably like Wii Sports at best. And
Still a great
playing
game,
FIFA, yeah, absolutely. Like playing FIFA with you guys. And I think the other stuff like first person shooter games did not get into them at all. I think when COD came out and you guys were really in on it, I kind of went into that. Mass Effect pulled me into that. I'd say Far Cry really solidified Far Cry 3 especially solidified my first person shooter.
Game.
Amazing game.
What a game.
That also brings in other elements from other game genres as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, it's still an open adventure, but I always preferred an over the shoulder type of
third person is
third person. Thank
preference as well.
And I would say probably Ricochet brought me into like Persona. When I played Persona 5, never played an RPG before that. It was too heavy for me, too big for me. I'd never. So that was my first real exposure, especially to a JRPG. Yeah, especially.
And then that was it. You were sucked in.
Oh mate, absolutely.
I remember coming around and you're just like, I'm just in my Persona 5 mode at the moment until like 8 o'clock. So, and I'm just like, yeah, cool. Do your thing.
Mate, I would get sucked into the mini games, man. The fucking card games on the side. Forget the storyline.
Yeah, what was it called?
I cannot remember, man.
That's gonna bug me. Okay, so just to touch on like our favorite games. What kind of games do you guys generally tend to sort of avoid? Like games that are like big games that you can understand like the appeal, but stuff that you just generally kind of stick away from.
Just wouldn't.
Because for me, it's like because for me, like sports games, like UFC, like those kind of games, like online sort of sporty sort of stuff, it doesn't really interest me. Like big online kind of games, like Warzone. I know people love Warzone. I can see the appeal to Warzone and everything, but online games, I feel like they're very limited in that there's not much else you do. Like a lot of online games now are kind of like battle royale type games. Yeah, and it's like you drop into a map, you do one thing, you try and survive, you try and win. Okay, you die or you win. All right, cool. You do it again. You do it again. You do it again and again, and it just kind of gets a bit boring after a while, for me at least.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that if I know people who are playing as well. Like I've played Warzone a little bit with like my cousin, just because he's playing it. I wouldn't load it up myself and play with randoms or anything like that. So I am actually pretty much open to anything if I know people who are playing it and want to play with me as well. So I'm not too bothered about what it is usually. There's this game called Talisman, which is a proper it's a proper like board game type RPG game. Like kind of I don't want to say like Dungeons and Dragons-y, but like you do roll a dice and you go around the board and you kind of build up the character that you've got, and your character has special abilities and stuff like that. And games can last for hours.
That does sound kind of cool. What's it called?
Talisman.
Okay.
That does sound kind of cool.
That's kind of cool, actually. Maybe something we can play together.
It probably could, yeah, because it's not very taxing. Like even if you just load it up on a laptop, it will most likely work.
Is
maybe
it
not the one you've got.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not the one I've got.
2 applications at once.
Maybe I'll just do it for real life. I'll get the board game, roll a dice or something. Like, I'm joining in, guys. Just call me on the phone. Is it a game more based on the role of the luck of the roll of the die, or is it more like strategical? Like there is more strategy and tactic involved in it, or a bit of both?
Strategy is more in the path you take around the board because there's side paths and there's certain spots you land on the board, certain things happen, and the roll is for how many spaces you take. And if you get into a battle or something, it can determine attack points in battle as well.
Okay.
That's just like full on D&D almost.
It almost is, yeah, but it's also different, yeah.
Sweet.
Okay.
That sounds kind
So
of cool.
It's like an RPG
tabletop
game, tabletop version. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's not something I ever would have thought I would start playing, but I knew some people who were playing, and they was like, "Try it." And I was like, "Okay." 4 hours later, just end it, please.
Every Monopoly game.
It is
ever.
on PlayStation. Is it this one?
It's actually.
It's so blurry, mate.
All I see is fire.
Oh, it's because your background is blurred.
Talisman Digital Edition. It looks like a dragon and a couple of D&D sort of characters. Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I don't tend to jump onto these things like Fortnite and stuff like that. But if other people are playing, I'm not opposed.
Yeah. I think I'm the same. I think the games that I avoid, generally speaking, is like sporty games, racing games included. I'm not much for online co-op games, like you said, Fraser. But if it was randoms, I think I get into it depending on the people around me. If I know people are playing it online, I know we jumped onto like the Marvel beta. I would happily play that game with you guys all day. But by myself or with others, no way. The game itself doesn't intrigue me. It's just rinse and repeat. I tend to avoid games that are based on quote unquote real life. I prefer a bit of a fantasy element. I don't like games like based on like real life simulator stuff or military stuff stuff.
You're into like Assassin's Creed, or is that far enough removed that you can tolerate it?
It's far enough removed. It kind of goes into that toy boyhood element of it's an assassin, and I like stealthy games. I like that combination of strategy and being able to be stealthy. I've always liked stealthy characters and stealthy movements of stuff. Kind of staying in the shadows, if you will. And there is a little fantasy element to it. I mean, literally about going into your ancestors' memories and shit. So
yeah.
But yeah, you're not wrong. I am open and flexible, but it's just generally I prefer games are more based on. God no! Come on, guys. Which one of us has ever gone? Guys, have you ever tried that new tractor simulator? None of us. Come on.
Oh, that's great, mate.
I will say
that the other day.
In terms of like simulator games, PlayStation had their monthly games. I think last month, 2 months ago, it was Power Wash Simulator. I downloaded it as a joke, thinking it was just going to be fucking shit. I'll be honest, there is something strangely zen about just power washing stuff away.
How many hours?
Let's not talk about it. I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it.
Yeah, because dinner was ready.
Kind of far into it, enough to be like, you know what? It's just getting a bit long now. There's a certain level that you get to. And when you start, obviously you spawn in the area and you see what you have to clean. It's like a subway. I spawned in the subway. I saw how much dirt there was everywhere, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And I left it there.
Yeah, there's a threshold, right?
There's a tolerance, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to a free game, you're going to dip in and find it surprising, but there is like a limit before you go, I'm not that passionate about this now. Like, there's only so much I can take, guys.
It's true, actually. I know that feeling.
I think it was more like just play this game until Persona finally comes out. So it was just holding me over until Persona came out.
The transition in between. And as soon as that game drops, all of a sudden, all that excitement you had for this random game is gone. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going back, I had a point I was going to make. What was I going to say? Yeah, you said before, like, saying like you were a bit late to certain games and certain consoles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that back then, like we were saying about those games, having more sticking power. Like, I don't think there was really a late. Like, I would, if in that case, I was also a bit late because most of my consoles and stuff came from like cash converters and stuff like that. And to be honest, like if you were even getting those consoles back then, if you were getting them new, they were still fucking expensive.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think a couple years after, and they're still popular, and people are still getting them. One, it says something about it, and two, I don't think there was an issue with that back then either. Yeah. So my next question to you guys is going to be, what was your like game-changing console or game-changing video game, like when you realize, oh shit, this is what video games can be?
I think we're all going to say the same thing for the console, right? Let's just be honest, right? It's gonna be.
I know you guys are going to say, but go on.
It's going to be PS2. PS2 was the world's game changer, man. It took shit to the next level. When I found out the PS2 could be a DVD player as well, I was like, what? 2-in-1? The amount of children that must have convinced their parents to get a PS2 because, Mom, Dad, it's a DVD player as well. We could do it for the family. And back then, there was like 1, 2 TVs tops in an average household. You couldn't plug your shit into your bedroom unless you had the money for it. You had
and DVD players were probably just as expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. But I remember putting even CDs in my PS2 and playing music from the TV, which was just in of itself amazing. Yeah. But yeah, sorry. So for me, it's PS2. I would say game changer for me. I would say Prince of Persia.
Okay.
There was something about that original trilogy for me on the PS2 and the graphics and the level that this is a game that I played. I would say a game changer that I saw was always Final Fantasy. When I ever saw Final Fantasy game trailers or other people's cutscenes, amazing. I tried the game, couldn't get into it. But for me, I think Prince of Persia, the gaming, the mechanics, the cutscenes, the level that the graphics could be was like that first stepping stone where I was like, whoa, I'm noticing graphics now. I'm noticing a bit of realism in this.
Detail and worlds coming to life more than they did back when they were like polygons. And
I think especially because you could turn back time in Prince of Persia 1, right? Obviously, the whole point of the game. So you could make a mess, and if you turn back time, things would reconstruct. That was a big deal in a gaming world of making a mess in a game, and you could turn back time, and that thing would go back on the table. That that brick would go back in its spot, and I was like, whoa, like. Look how far tech's gone. You can put stuff back together again. That was just amazing that you could do that.
I remember things once like little single crates or whatever, once you broke them, they would come back together. And that was a bit like, what? Like a resurrect the crate?
That is pretty crazy mechanic back then.
Game wise for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is Gran Turismo 3. I think that game, when I realized, like, holy shit, games can be fucking huge. There's not just one island. There's like a second island, and then there's a third island. There's like all the wanted levels and all of the graphics. Like the graphics weren't amazing for Grand Theft Auto 3, but they were good enough that you could kind of tell what they were trying to do. But that game had everything. Like everything. It had guns, it had tanks, it was prostitutes, there was like a whole mafia story.
Wait, you mean Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto 3, yeah. What did I say?
You said Gran Turismo, mate. Me and Fraser got so lost. I was like, there's prostitutes in Gran Turismo? What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, yeah, my bad.
Is that what they told you it was?
Wow.
They put the wrong disc in the wrong
place. I love it. Yeah, okay, yeah. No, my bad. We're gonna have to edit that bit out.
Mind blown.
I meant Grand Theft Auto 3. That was what I meant. That was what I meant. Yeah, that was when I realized games could be fucking huge, and the shit that you could do, and just how much time you could sink into it doing random bullshit. That was a literal game changer.
The birth of the sandbox game.
I think that was the first open world game, but with stuff within it. Like something like I said, when I went to like Zelda, it was an open world game, but things were happening in very sectioned off places. You had to go into a town or a village where that was just like, it felt like it was living and breathing with or without you there. Things would still change and evolve. And yeah, I think Grand Theft Auto for a lot of people was that step up of, look how big we can make stuff.
Yeah, that was a memorable game for sure for me for the PS2 era. That was one of them.
What about you, Fraser?
Well, for me, I didn't really have a PS2. Like, my brother got a PS2 at some point, but I was more on like my Nintendo stuff. Because so the story is that I probably told it before as well. So as I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog on my Mega Drive, I used to get like Nintendo magazines as well, and they were like, "Oh, Sonic's coming to Nintendo," and I was like, "Oh, okay, great." Saw a Nintendo 64. I was like, "Mom, I need to get a Nintendo 64."
I need to.
Okay.
I love it.
I need to. I had the choice between N64 and the Game Boy, and I got Nintendo 64. But obviously, with being a bit later, they were actually talking about GameCube. But the Nintendo 64 was still a game changer for me, like first step into 3D.
Yeah,
and
true.
The game that I used to play on that was called Banjo-Kazooie.
Yes,
that was good.
You know,
game.
Classic. Yeah, man.
I literally loved that game. I could still play it today, and literally sit there and just complete it 100%. And it's just stuck with me. But in terms of like, I think proper game-changing console, I was just like, wow, like gaming is going to be different. It's probably going to be PS3.
Yeah.
Because that brought in like the online, you could put your USB in and do whatever. Backwards compatibility, so you got your PS2 there as well.
Yes.
And I remember buying that one from Chris actually, because Chris had to send it back because it was broken for some reason, and then he was like selling it. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll buy it off you." And I've still got it.
Is this our
K-Risk?
Yeah. All right, cool.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Well, did you fix whatever was broken with it as well?
Yeah, he sent it away and it came back and it was fixed. Because the weird thing is they sent it back because you know how it was the 60 gigabyte model that was the backwards compatible one, and then they took it out after that, and they sent it back in like a 40 gigabyte box, but it was still the 60 gigabyte version. It's kind of weird, but from there playing games like the Uncharted series.
Yes.
I played Fallout 3 on there. The kind of games that came out and having the PlayStation Network, where you play games like Ninja Storm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it just like, that was kind of like the game changer for me. Burnout Paradise.
What an
amazing game.
Yeah.
When Burnout Paradise came out, I think it came out. It was like a demo for it that came out on PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of the first demos that came out.
It had like
as part
a
of the console.
Part of that.
Yeah. So I think my dad, when we first got our PS3, obviously my dad downloaded all the demos that he could. He played Burnout Paradise. He played it for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and decided there and then this game is fucking amazing, and he's gonna buy it. He bought it. I fell in love with it. I platinumed it on my account.
Wow.
I platinumed. My uncle found out that my uncle had it, and he realized, oh my god, if you got a platinum for it, can you get me the platinum? So I platinumed it again for my uncle, and I think I platinumed it again on another account somewhere. But that game was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that demo got rinsed.
Dude, I think I could still drive around that entire map and know where everything is. I've sunk so many hours into that game.
Yeah,
incredible.
I can second that of Rick, because I played the demo, fell in love with it, but for whatever reason never bought the game in the end. And I think, Rick, you remember you reintroduced it to me in our 20s. And you was my Burnout Paradise guru. And this guy taught me to drift. This guy taught me to do fucking donuts. Like, I honestly God,
guys
I
in
got
the passenger seat. Like,
fully took him to like a whole drift track and everything.
Mate, he made me a sick fucking driver and drifter in that game. And I remember him still being like, right, take a left here. Oh, there's a secret shortcut here. Oh, there's a ramp up here. Oh, go through that sign. All right, cool. And I'm like, you still know all of this shit. And this is such an old game. I was like, yep.
Absolutely. When you hit those shortcuts as well.
Yeah, the slow-mo camera jumps and everything. Some games just stick with you, and I think that's definitely one of those games that just stick.
They leave a mark.
Yeah. What a game.
Yeah. And something else you said as well, demos. Because the way they could just upload a demo and you could just play a game, like you don't have to go get a disc or something from a magazine. It was just different. But then, times, man.
on the downside of that also meant, like, you know, when games are released, they could release games that weren't actually finished, and then you get day one updates and patches, and that's when all that stuff started. It wasn't like back in the day was you buy a disc and that's the game.
That was more like, I think that came in like PS4.
Yeah,
I want to say.
I remember a lot in PS3 as well, like certain games being updating and like little patches for things, and because I remember you used to go into a game and you could read like the update notes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 it would be like, go to this website to read the patch notes or whatever. But every now and again you get a game that would tell you what's been fixed and everything. So yeah, I mean, yin and yang, right? Like there's good sides and bad sides to it.
Yeah. I definitely felt that towards the end of PS3 to PS4, and I was like, this internet connection, PlayStation Network, I could start to see the limitations. I'm like, if you've got one hand in my console as a network, there's a lot of goodies that I can get from it, but there's a lot that you can take and change it on a whim. But like you said, PS2 was finite. You bought the console, that was it. You played that game, that was it. You know, there was content, that was it. There was no really heavily DLC. There was no patches or updates needed. At best, I mean, or should I say at worst, you would get a game recalled, and I don't think we've really ever happened to us, and you might get something back. But
I don't remember any games getting recalled.
I don't remember that either. But
I don't remember that until PS4.
Yeah.
Oh, but what games got recalled on PS4?
I want to say No Man's Sky. I don't think they could really recall them. They could just stop them from being sold. But anyway, people would have been returning them anyway.
I know what happened with Cyberpunk, but they didn't officially recall it though, right? They just stopped selling it everywhere. Like it got taken off the PS Store. Physical copies weren't being made anymore. You could only ever get it from like a used copy somewhere else. But that was it until they fixed the game. I don't remember that happening with anything else. That's crazy.
No, there's definitely games that got recalled. I'm looking at a list now, but it's more of a. The list is more of a mix of consoles and PC. So, like, for example, it says Batman Arkham Knight was recalled on PC on 2015. Yeah, PC. Cyberpunk 2077 or all around in 2020. Fantasia.
Which is weird. Like
the famous one was a Grand Theft Auto San Andreas because of the hot coffee side quest.
Really?
When you could have sex with the girl.
I see. So getting into that afterwards, that was done via cheat codes and stuff like that. That was
afterwards. It was in the original game, and I remember playing that. I definitely achieved that fucking platinum. But there we go.
San Andreas was another game though. That was fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, the Legend of Ocarina of Time was recalled later on in its life. Not originally, yes. And I remember this in the US because I think in the Gerudo temple,
Link says the N-word, doesn't he?
No. No.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Just walks up to them. Oh, hey, my babe.
Every single game with a Link just rocks up. What's up? It's like, oh no.
Oh God.
That's what he intended.
One time he talks, the one time they give him a voice, you're like, oh my God, please shut up. Yeah, there's loads of reasons. A lot of these lists of recalled games is more to do with like political changes or songs or symbols or terms used in the game rather than an issue. Like Mario Party 8 in the UK in 2007 was recalled because its use of the word spastic, which is highly offensive in the UK.
Wow. And it's not offensive anywhere else.
Nowhere else.
Okay.
Jesus. That's interesting.
But anyway, yeah, recalls do happen, lads. It's a thing.
Huh. There you go.
But yeah, PS3, great console.
PS3 was.
I'm going to defend it. It's a great console.
I mean, it was definitely up there. I think like at the time, everyone had a PS2, or majority of people had a PS2. It was like there was no console wars or anything at the time. Mm-hmm. But late towards PS2 was when Xbox released their first console, the fat, chunky black one with the green circle. Yeah,
like that did not appeal to me at all.
It was huge, but it was actually a great console. There was so many good games on there. But up until that point when that got released, I think it was just before PS3 came out, and not a lot of people jumped on Xbox at the time. But then they slowly started releasing games like Halo and then Gears of War and everything like that. And that's when it started to gain a lot more traction. And then PS3 came out, and then that was when the whole console wars thing started. Mm-hmm. But PS3 for sure was definitely like having all the movies you just stored on the console, like your music, your pictures, all that kind of stuff. That was a big game changer as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was literally like your all-in-one.
By the end of its lifespan, PS3 was probably one of the best balanced consoles out there. You could plug any USB in there, you could upload almost anything on there. And I remember even not having the internet at one point and downloading videos from YouTube or stuff from the laptop and putting it on there. I've still to this day got albums and movies and games all downloaded on there. Yeah. I would argue, in my personal experience, I would say PS3 at its peak with accessibility is still the best console. So the last best console that PS has made. I don't think PS4 has reached not gaming catalog, just accessibility as a media center. I don't think the PS4 to me has been any better, and I don't believe the PS5 will be anytime soon.
I mean, I think having a PS5 is great because of one thing and one thing only. The loading speeds are fucking ridiculously quick. That's the best thing about it. Otherwise, like it's huge, it's expensive. There's not a great deal of games like exclusive for PS5 at the moment. Mm-hmm. It's not amazing. I think honestly I would still, as a console, I prefer the PS3 over the PS5, 100%, without a doubt. Which is a crazy thing to say, but I think a lot of people would probably agree in saying the same thing. Like, there's not a great deal about PS5 that's amazing, aside from the loading speeds and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, it's a powerful console, but it's not worth it, to be honest.
And do you know what's crazy? The PS5 is currently about halfway through its life cycle.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, PlayStation released a statement not too long ago, and there was like PlayStation is in like the latter stages of its lifespan. So I think when they said that, like their stocks went to shit.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Does this mean that halfway through its lifespan, as a company, they're coming to an end, or PS6 is going to come in another? Oh no, man! I've not even got PS5 yet. I've still got like the only games I want to play is Spider-Man and God of War 2 on there. That's it. But I'm
it's literally like Spider-Man, God of War machine. It would be maybe the New Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that might be on PC as well.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
otherwise,
that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Like, all these games will probably eventually come to PC at some point, or there will be some kind of mod or something you can like just get these games on PC for. Because PC can there is no real limitation to it, really. You can kind of just do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah, it's also weird. Like Serhan was saying about the recalls before, like happening on PC, because the games are developed on the PC in the first place to be put into console, but they end up being more stable on console. And then when they want to make a PC version, it's got all these glitches and bugs, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, I've heard people make that same case before of how was it created on this platform, converted over, yet it cannot run as smoothly on the original platform when it should be. I don't know if it's because every PCs you can buy varying strengths, hardware, CPUs, and all that. But obviously, if you buy a PS5, apart from maybe the memory change, you're going to get the same power in different styles of boxes. It's always going to run the same, but
sometimes they are just fundamentally broken for some reason.
Oh yes,
something that just works on PS5 just doesn't work on PC, and they have to patch it. It's very strange.
That's kind of bullshit.
It was very weird.
So, my next question to you guys was going to be, what is your favorite game? I mean, there might be a few, so feel free to make a little list. But what would you say is your hands down favorite game you've played? Toughie, huh?
That's a big question.
Are we gonna just give you one, or like a top 3, top 5? What we say?
You could give me a top 3. You can think out loud. No, just interested, because like, I still think back to Banjo-Kazooie myself as like, that game just gives me a feeling like it's beyond nostalgia because I have it and I can play it. There's also a game called Gotcha Force. If you guys have heard of that, it's on the GameCube. You got like, it's almost very Pokemon-like because you get these little tiny robots and you have like an arena, and you can fight them against each other, and you can build like a little team of robots. And there's different types. You got like ninjas, you got girls, you got gunners, you got knights.
Sounds so familiar.
Definitely, like you check out like a trailer or trailer.
Gotcha Force.
Some gameplay. Yeah, it's like it's very anime as well. Like it's got its own little story. It's a very wholesome story. All told like you with like these little JPEG images. And yeah, it's a very fun little game, and it's very like, to get a copy of it at the moment it's quite expensive.
This does look very familiar. I feel like I remember like these blocky ships and everything moving around.
I remember the art cover, and the blockiness of some of the characters look familiar, but this is something I never played.
I played that game so much, and I even found a way to get my data off my GameCube memory card and onto my PC, so I have it.
Damn, son!
Yeah,
and I can play it on emulator.
Sick.
That's actually sick. Oh, Fraser, you really are a PC gamer.
Did you ever have a Dreamcast?
I never had a Dreamcast. No, I never got to experience that. Sega went down the drain before I could get my hands on that.
Man. There were a good few games on Dreamcast, but one of them was Power Stone.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Dude, I think that was probably one of my favorite fighting games. It was just so wacky, like it was so far ahead of its time in what games could do, and like it was like you have to be aware of the environment, and the stages all equally change, and like they all morph into different things, and there's little environment things you got to be aware of, and
it's almost like if
that's
Smash Brothers,
the one. Yeah, kind of.
If Smash Brothers could be on a 3D arena, that's the way it would go. Yeah, I've seen stuff about it, and I need to play it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so if you can't get it on like an emulator or something, then give it a try, because that was a great game.
Even looking at the screenshots, even I can tell that this is ahead of its time.
Yeah, dude, it was.
You can just tell from the environment.
It was so good, man. Me and my brother used to sesh that game. Yeah, I mean that was a great fighting game, but I think what tops that even more is Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh yeah,
that is still, I reckon, my favorite fighting game to this day. Nothing.
I think I'm with you on that.
Nothing comes close.
When they tried to make the what genre game? What genre of fighting would you say it is? Like team
tag team tag team kind of
I don't
thing,
know. But whenever they try to make those kind of games after that, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are still into Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just not the same.
Three is shit. Like the graphics are like all misplaced.
There's
like,
a big scene.
I think mechanically, I mean, I know there is, but I think mechanically it's a lot more solid than 2 was, because 2 was fucking broken. It was stupidly broken. Like once you could get into a certain pattern, that's it. They were done. So mechanically, I think 3 is a lot more stable and fair. But just as like, and for an amateur like player like the rest of us, just playing a fighting game, nothing comes close to Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't even approach it.
If I get my PS3 out the box for anything, it's going to be to play MVC 2.
I still have Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on my PS3, and I refuse to sell it purely because it has that game on there. I will not get rid of that console because that game is god tier.
Rikesh is going to be beating his children at it, and like when they're
remember the Venom special.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, you don't forget trauma, Rikesh.
He's already instantly stressed. Venom special. Yeah, mate. Yeah, I was there, mate. I was there. I experienced it. All right, leave it alone.
The score would be like 10 games to you, and like maybe 1 or 2 to me. Like he would bring it round to my house and imply that we have to play it. And I'm like, Rikesh, I don't want to. It's like, no, please. There's no one else to play with. All right, cool. Batters me 10 times. I might get 1 lucky win. Breaks my soul with the Venom special, and then he'll be like, "Oh, right, how you been, man?" I'm like, "You never do that. You brought it to my house, plugged it in my TV."
It's a special kind of torture I bring to the room. It's a very special kind.
You know these characters you love? Gonna whip your ass with them.
Do you remember Rick, do you remember on my PS3, sometimes obviously we wouldn't have access to yours, it would be somewhere that yours PS3 wasn't, and we'd only have the demo of Marvel vs. Capcom. We would have like
6 characters.
6 characters we could choose from. Like, well, there we go.
Yep. I think my main team is just in that.
I think it is.
A couple of characters.
I think there's like 1 character out of it.
I think the only thing that ended up breaking Rikesh's Venom special at one point, and it was equally annoying, but it was nice to see, was Charlie's Juggernaut special.
3 Juggernauts.
Just 3 Juggernauts, and it was just assist.
I couldn't break out of it. I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I can't.
Mate, he went on to some. Charlie does this as a gamer, that he is quite susceptible or quite connected to a lot of games. Like he will connect to a lot of games usually. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But for the most part, so 90% of the time, he's quite average on every game. He connects, but sometimes he hits some winning streaks and he's like untouchable.
Yeah,
like immovable in that particular moment, man. And like, whoa.
Lock in.
Yeah.
The Naruto days. 4 of us having little tournaments. Winner stays on. Charlie would just go around the room. I think it would be each of us. We'd each have days where we would just go around the room and like, nope, next. Yeah. We would just tear through everyone.
I think we've never finished the Naruto days. I think we could still sit down and still hit the same level of competitiveness. Like it's not even nostalgia. It's more like, this was yesterday. This is today. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking do this.
Was it Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 we played, right? 4.
Yeah, did we ever play 2? I don't think so. I think we jumped in at 4, didn't we?
I think 4 was when we had everything.
I think we played 2 on the PS3 demo, Rick, if you remember. That was my first introduction to it. But number 4 was the one we took the most seriously, I would say.
Yeah, we had the most fun with number 4.
Yeah, 100%. Did you mention your top favorite game then, Rick? Did you?
Oh, sorry. I think I can't think of a favorite game of all time. Metal Gear instantly comes to mind because
which one? You have to pick one.
Oh shit!
You have to pick one.
That's the big question.
And it's not allowed to be 4.
It's not allowed to be 4. It has to be snakier then. It has to be snakier.
Was that the one that used to speedrun, Rick?
No, 4. Guns of the Patriots was the one I used to speedrun. I got so good at that game. Could speedrun the whole thing in under 5 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, boy. That was a
Snake Eater. That's free, right? That makes sense.
yeah.
That's
1,
being
2, and
remade.
3. Yeah, I can't remember what they're calling it. Delta. That's the one. Yeah, I keep hearing they've changed a few things from like the actual original storyline to it. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'll play it when it comes out.
It really does depend on it. It's like sometimes it can be quality of life, but sometimes it can be you've just fucked up the whole canon.
Like I don't know if Konami are just trying to make as much money and rape the Metal Gear franchise for everything that they can, and
can't really trust them.
Yeah, so I'll wait until it comes out and then I'll see what they do with it. But it looks fucking incredible. Like the few screenshots that they've released. If you haven't seen them, go check them out because they look incredible. That game's going to be powerful.
Hasn't Kojima said anything to you? He didn't send you a message or anything
to you know.
He did, but he did ask that I not mention it on the podcast, just like because he's a big guy, he doesn't want to get controversial. So, out of Kojima-san's wishes, I will keep that private.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, Rick. You have, and this is realistic speaking, you have physically met him.
I have physically met Hideo Kojima and Yoji Shinkawa.
The smile on your face in that photo to this day is the happiest I've ever seen you look, mate.
Bro, I'm telling you, the day I die, you know when you say your life flashes before your eyes? Like a solid portion of that flashback is going to be me just staring at Kojima. I'm telling you.
Waiting in line as well.
Waiting in line for like 12 hours. It was worth it.
Jesus, man.
What a day. What about you, Fraser? What would you say is like one of your favorite games? If you can pick a favorite.
Yeah, like I spent a lot of time playing Fallout 3. That game
big
really
boy
sucks me, but like I don't think I could go back to it. But that game was a great adventure for me, and it's cool as well because you literally start off pretty much being born and grown up, and then you escape the vault when you're old enough, and then you've got this massive world, and you've got to go find your dad. But there's just side quests in every single corner of the map, and choices to be made, and companions to get, and loot to find. It was a great time. It was a great time.
I think Fallout 3 was the one that I never actually got around to playing, but I remember you mentioning a fair few times that it was by far your favorite.
Did you play other ones?
I played I think it was 4 and 76. I think I played some
4. Yeah, I didn't get through it all though.
I don't think I liked 4 too much. 76 I could not stand. It was not good.
Is that one of the recalled ones?
I think so.
It might have been.
Yeah, me and Lauren bought it on launch because we thought we would play it together, and it was buggy as shit, and it was just a bad game. It was not worth it. I think that after that they did mention that it's getting recalled and done up, and I don't know what it's like. I've not played it since.
Still going apparently somehow. Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about that.
And then another one to mention, which I would probably put up there, is Bloodborne.
Oh,
the PS4 exclusive hasn't been touched in 6 years? I don't know. No, sorry. Has it been like? I think it's been like 9-10 years actually.
What?
Is it 20?
Since Bloodborne?
2014? Yeah.
I think it has.
I want to say 2014. Shit.
I think we forget how many variations and sequels have come out since the OG.
2015, that's what I thought, yeah. It's but this game has been just locked on the PS4. And no word of a sequel, no word of a port, but it's still got this massive following, and you got people hacking their PS4s so they can mod the game and just have a Bloodborne machine basically. And it's literally, it does. But it's definitely just one of those games, one of the greatest games of all time for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, there is a
somehow, and it's just so solid. Like, it's not massive, but its lore, its mechanics, its world, its enemies. They're just like the animation, the detail put into it is just, you can't fault it.
Yeah, there is. It looks amazing. I didn't finish it by any means. I was nowhere near good enough to keep dodging all these fucking things. But from what I did play, the environments and everything, like the whole setting and the art to it and everything, it's. I don't think another game has kind of come close to what it looked like. But Bloodborne has a massive following. You could get a remake at some point, mate, because FromSoft, you definitely could.
Fingers and toes across for sure.
Oh, it's not the most painful, mate, but yeah, I can imagine.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
I'm crossing all the hair. I'm crossing all the hairs on my body for you, mate. I'm like,
oh please,
oh,
we're assured now. There's no way it can't be done.
I made a list because I was like, as you guys are talking about, how do no, it's not a long list, but I'm like, how do I like narrow this down? So I was like, all right, Ninja Storm 4, Tekken, like they're my favorite fighting games. I put Persona 5 Royale, definitely would be on my list, 100%. I mentioned Prince of Persia was a big turning point for me, one of my big boy PS2 games. God of War PS4. I haven't played number 2 yet, but I would imagine it's the same. Solid one. God of War is like exactly how you describe Bloodborne, but for me, one of the most balanced games in terms of it's not too big, it's not too small. The enemies, the mechanics, everything is just enough, and it's never a bad time. Ocarina of Time, OG game, broke me into the world of gaming. That will always probably be number 2 on my list, but I will have to say my number 1 game forever will be The Last of Us.
Oh yes,
100%. It's an amazing game, but personally, and I know there's people in our group that have played the game and they love it, or watched the show and they've loved it. But for me, the first game was just personal as on every level. Like, it broke me and changed me as a gamer. I got to experience it playing it next to Rick, and I replayed it over and over and over again. Fucking Grounded. That game there, it chewed me up and spat me out, but somehow I kept running back into it. So,
I have never seen anyone play a game the way Serhan used to play Last of Us. He would take it too seriously. Like, there would be calculations, there would be a notepad, he'd have a whiteboard, he'd have people keeping track of things. It was meticulous the way he would play it and the way he would move, the way he would wait for a certain person to, like, a little animation for a guard to be like, just look one way and he would know, all right, this means that. He'd calculate the RNG in his head.
But this is like was it crushing difficulty or grounded difficulty? Grounded.
Yeah. That was the closest I've ever gone to. Obviously, it wasn't a speed run, but a speed run looks for certain, like Rikesh said, like certain animations, hints, clues, triggers, and that you know what mechanic is coming, you know what's coming. And Grounded forced me to do that. Like, I knew by the end of it, like, how many steps to take in a certain area. And like Rikesh said, once you get into that mode, once you write that onto your hard drive of your brain, I can never unsee it. I knew what gun to use on what enemies, depending on what armor. I realized that if I shot them like below the knee, they'll drop down to the ground once. You know, if I shot them on the shoulder, they would maybe recoil and I could maybe get a shiv into them. Like, all these mini calculations to play. And I would get stuck on one level for 3 or 4 days, easily. One room for 3 or 4 days, repetitively. I don't know what motivated me, but the love of that game, that will always be my favorite. That's the only game I've ever considered getting a tattoo of.
That is love and dedication.
That is
100%.
100%.
What a journey.
I feel like I want to play Metal Gear all over again now. Thanks, Praise.
Well, like Metal Gear 1.
Which one?
All of them. All of them. All of them at the same time.
Watching you play Metal Gear, you know what we're like as gamers, and I think we're all very similar. And I think most gamers are like, we don't, backseat gaming is very, we're not too big on it, but when you watch someone play a good game the wrong way, it's so triggering. Yeah. Like when someone be like, where is this? And they keep running into the wall, you're like, fucking turn left, you piece of shit. Like, you get so triggered. But watching someone play a game that you don't even know or understand, but you know the mechanics, you know the stuff, but when they play a game well, with pleasure. I could sit there and watch you guys play a good game for 3-4 hours without anything. I'm happy just to watch you guys play. And watching Rikesh play Metal Gear was one of those games for me.
Yeah, I think me playing Metal Gear was the same way you played Last of Us. Like, I knew where everything was, I knew where to go, I knew the checkpoints, I knew what enemy was doing. It just kind of hardwired into you. You just don't forget it. But
all right, I think this is a good spot for an ad break.
Ad break.
Ad
Yeah.
See you after the break. How did you say that with water in your mouth? It was like drinking.
Ventriloquist.
Hey Gary, why the long face?
Hey Barry, I'm just so bored. I mean bored. I don't have any good games to play.
Haven't you heard about that new arcade down the road?
What new arcade?
Awesome Arcade! That's right, kids! Arcades are back!
Ooh! Who said that?
Awesome Arcade has any and every game over 3,000 square foot of floor space.
Ah!
We have Bleppin' 4!
I'm gonna be Gina!
Oh yeah? Well, I'm gonna choose Freddy. You're going down.
Fight!
We have Jerry-O Kart, Trouble Dash!
Oh wow! All the carts and characters are unlocked!
That's crazy. I didn't think that was even possible.
And over here, we have Grind Crisis, Power Wash Situation.
This one's alright.
Pretty satisfying, actually. Wait, what's the time? And where is the exit?
It's not time to exit yet. We have 362,984 games to go.
Wait, what? We need to get home at some point. Right, Barry?
Must get high score. Must play all 13 games in the series.
I guess there are some fates worse than being trapped in an arcade forever.
That's right, and 10 out of 10 parents agree.
My son said he was going to the arcade for a while. That was 5 years ago. He doesn't call, he doesn't text. It's been so quiet around the house. It's been great. Thanks, Awesome Arcade.
Exactly. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Awesome Arcade and game until you can't game no more. And then game some more. Awesome Arcade Limited accepts no liability for any lost children or missed days at school. It is not recommended to take breaks between gaming sessions, and anyone caught taking breaks will be vaporized. Awesome Arcade accepts it as a pocket dimension and should not be approached or entered.
We are back.
We're
What's an ad break? 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Wow. I wouldn't
stuff,
say that was 10 out of 10. I would say that was like a 6 out of 10.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. I don't have to bother.
We need
that
to,
much.
guys. We need to
Wow.
because we need to lower the bar. We can't keep making 10 adverts.
Oh,
Let's take the pressure
6
off.
out of 10. 6 out of 10 ad break. Good stuff,
I
guys.
will say, when I've got less time to make an ad break, do try and make them simpler. I don't know if you listened to the last one.
What was the last one?
The dictionary one.
Dictionary one, yeah.
Yeah, that ad was fucking like crazy. I'm not gonna. There were so many layers and so much happening at the same time. I was like,
You
know what's
scripted
happening. I know, and I wrote the script, and I was like, whoa. But I must admit, the big dictionary game was one of my favorite episodes so far. I don't know why. It was just simple but fun. That the intro fucking killed me. The intro, just all of that eloquence, and it was like, "Welcome to the game, boys," and with me as always is Big Dick Charlie, and it just broke me. I was like, "Fuck's sake, fucking Charlie, killed me."
Killed
Good
it.
stuff.
All right.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about favorite games, but what about game series? What series of games has kept you around?
Ooh.
Obviously, we know about Rick's Metal Gear Solid.
Has
Ooh.
kept
Has-
me around.
Kept you for it. You know, you've played the first one, the sequel's coming out, and you're like, "Yep, got to get it because I got to continue. I got to know what happens next, or I want to keep up with this game. I like playing it."
So, are these gaming series that are ongoing to this day, or can they have been completed?
They could have been completed, yeah.
Ooh. So the thing is, I have played games that I've loved, but like I played the Assassin's Creed for a bit, but then I stopped because it got in a direction it wasn't really me. Like Far Cry I loved, but I only played like 1 or 2. So it's like I have played games within series, but yeah, I think I would say Batman, the Arkham Knight, Arkham City, and all of that. Those ones definitely.
Good shout.
Do you remember?
Persia.
Was it 11%, 7%?
Oh, the trauma. Mate, that was playing Arkham Knight with the 3 of us was one of the best experiences ever, because I had my own profile, then we had a group profile. I would play like all my side missions and maybe one main mission ahead, and then I would stop. Discipline. I would stop playing the game until both of you came round. Then we would catch up to that point. And by the end of it, we had like, I would do the tank missions. I think one of you do the racing missions and one of you do the stealth missions. Like we all had like a speciality in our playthrough together.
Sounds something like we do, yeah.
Possibly, yeah. I remember that first time when Joker shows up. Like
that's what I was thinking.
And I think that was just after, I think, a driving section, or maybe just before that.
It was.
I think it's just before that, and then you've got to drive out of Base Chemicals and escape.
Mate,
like
that was
image in my head.
To this day, that was terrifying. I think. Did none of us know that was gonna? I knew that was gonna happen, right? You didn't know. Rick, did me and you do it the night before?
I didn't know it was gonna happen.
You didn't know either, so it was just me that done it the night before.
I think you knew, yeah.
But I remember the 3 of us sitting there playing, and I'll never forget it because it was more intense. Is enough of a plot twist in a game to be like, oh my god, like he's in your head, or is he alive, and how? And we all huddled, and obviously the music swelled up, and Ace Chemicals is exploding, but my soundbar was broken at the time. So when the cable come loose, just a little bit like any jack in a speaker, it would obviously create a.
You get that feedback off of it.
Yeah, it would give a feedback. So
really,
the Joker showed up. I knew what was happening, and all of a sudden, there's all of that stuff is happening in game, and then on the outside of that, my speaker's going. Oh, it just added. It's like the Joker came and pulled the cable out of my fucking speakers, and everything just went crazy. And all 3 of us huddled together
terrifying. That was terrifying.
That was amazing. We fucking completed that game. Who can ever say they've had a 3-man completion of a storyline game, man? Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
3 people completed a single player game.
Yeah.
That's what it took.
But yeah, so I would say
2 were solid as well.
Arkham, Prince of Persia. I would say the most ongoing franchise that I've probably stuck with is still Zelda to this day.
Oh yeah.
I have bought consoles just to play that game, and then sold the console.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think Zelda is the only game I've actually bought a Nintendo for purely for the reason to play Zelda. Yeah. Once I've finished Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like my Switch just sits on the side. It doesn't get any attention, doesn't get any love. It just sits there waiting for the next Zelda game to come out.
There's rumors and rumbles that the next Switch is coming out, which I'm looking forward to. But there is my next game that I already know that I want to play on the Switch at least there is a new Prince of Persia platform game. Perfect for the Switch. Yeah, it looks really good. I've seen some reviews and some gameplay, and I'm like, for the Switch, this is absolutely fine. So I kind of know that's where I'm going to go next as the little jump for myself.
Fair. For me, I think if we're talking about games that I've started from the first and have kept up with, Devil May Cry. I've played the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the weird DMC reboot that they should not have attempted. I've played 5. I've played all of them. Like, I love those games, like those hack and slash kind of combo sort of games. I love those sort of things.
Smoking stylish.
Yeah, I love that whole thing. Like, Dante's a bit of a. I feel like Dante as a character, he's kind of outdated now. He's a bit like times have changed since Dante was first around, and like, oh my god, this cool ass devil slaying white haired character who just does awesome shit. I feel like it wouldn't really play as well as it used to back in the day, but Devil May Cry is one that I still look forward to. Like when we have like when PlayStation announced they've got like the new showcase that they're doing, I'm low key always hoping that they're gonna announce a new Devil May Cry game. But I think
they're not as frequent nowadays, are they?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those games that's kind of hard to pull off as time goes on. Because 5 was a bit rough. It wasn't amazing. Like story-wise, I think the best story that they've had in any of the games has been 4 with Nero. So. Yeah, with Nero, I think that was like the best story-wise.
Cool story, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Nero was a great fucking character. But in terms of gameplay, I think 5 might have been the most fluid in terms of mechanics and fighting and everything. So
3's it's kind of up there.
Well, 3 is really fucking good as well. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's kind of like ups and downs. But I think one other franchise that I have come to love and will probably buy every single game of theirs that released since will be Persona.
Yeah, boy.
Bro, like Persona 5, when Persona 5 first came out, it was just like it came out kind of near my birthday a few years ago. And my brother randomly was like, okay, it's your birthday. I don't know what to get you. I'm just going to get you a game. Pick a game, I'll buy it for you. I was like, all right, cool. I had a look and I saw Persona 5 randomly. I was like, yeah, JRPG looks kind of cool. Fuck it, get me that. Random purchase turned into one of the best JRPGs I've ever played in my life. That was just
fated.
Everything was just impeccable. Then they released Royale. I bought Royale. Then they released a bunch of spin-off games like the Strikers. Yeah, I mean it wasn't great. You could definitely tell they were spin-off games, but I still bought them. They remastered, air quotes for our listeners, Persona 4 Golden. I played that. It wasn't amazing, but it was still very kind of PS2 era graphics, just a little bit updated.
So so like the remaster itself wasn't breathtaking, but the game itself is still solid.
I mean, the game itself, if they had like redone it with the way that they've done Persona 3 Reload, if they was to redo 4 in the same like up-to-date graphics and everything, it could be amazing. But at the moment, I'm playing 3, and Persona 3 Reload. I don't know what the original was like, but Persona 3 Reload is fucking amazing. Fucking amazing. Like the soundtrack.
There's a lot of games I've got to get onto.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you would love them, Phrase. 100%.
Honestly, you would like for the soundtrack alone, you would lose your fucking mind. It's so good. It's unnecessarily good. It's just background music. There is no reason for the music to be as good as it is.
You didn't have to go that hard.
Oh, mate, honestly.
Rick has just sent me voice notes and recordings of just music. And he'll be like, guess where from? And I'm like, Persona. This has to be Persona. You can tell. There's a level of quality. There's like a mood setting. It's like if someone sends you a lo-fi beat. You don't have to know who it is or what it is. You just know the vibe. You're like, this must be a lo-fi studying beat or something. And it's exactly the same with Persona. Anyone can send it to you and you're like, this is the level it is, man. Oh, yeah. Man,
after we're done, I'll send the intro to Persona 3 in the group chat. Just give the intro a listen. You'll be like, "This is fucking ridiculous." It does not need to be this good.
The menu music and the menu graphics alone is more entertaining than some fucking games I've played.
Bro, I'm telling you, this game, I will buy every single Persona game going forward.
I don't blame you.
What about you, Phrase? What franchises? I feel like I already know what answer yours is going to be, but
well, I'm sure this is like. This is kind of on our list for everyone. Like we might not have kept up with all of them, but we might follow them to a point. But like Pokemon, probably dropped off. Maybe like I played Black and White after Diamond and Pearl, but after that I was just kind of like meh.
Yeah.
Back in the PS2 days, I did used to get a lot of Dragon Ball Z games. Like I'd probably actually literally keep up with those.
I remember some of like the older games and stuff. I remember some of the old Dragon Ball Z games. They were kind of cool, but I didn't play like any of the more recent ones, like the open world kind of things, like Kakarot.
No, yeah, that one wasn't for me. Like there was the Tenkaichi series on the PS2. Those were like really good. Just solid fighters, I think. And they literally like there was 3 of them, and from 1 to 3 they always like upped the standards and made it better. 3 is still like probably the gold standard.
Nice.
And then they had Xenoverse, which I think started on the PS3 and is also on PS4 now. They're on Xenoverse 2, and they've been supporting that game for like fucking years, man. Probably 7-8 years. Like they need to make a sequel, but they just keep pumping out content. And then Dragon Ball Fighters came out, which is more Marvel vs. Capcom-y. Which is pretty cool. I haven't played too much of it, but yeah, I've been about for Dragon Ball Z games. Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Since Melee really on the GameCube.
What a game.
Always had to get the next one. I've had like tons of people around my house just so we could play Smash Bros. And like when Super Smash Bros. I think Brawl came out, like obviously you could only really have 4 people in a match back then, but they had rotation, so you could have as many people in as you want, I think, but it would rotate the people out. And it was kind of cool, like to be able to take a breather, or if you're winning, you stay in and you get to fight new people. It was quite a cool mechanic that they didn't really return with. But yeah, Smash Bros is just solid as a party fighter, they want to call it. The Uncharted series mentioned before.
Ooh, good shout.
Yes.
Yeah. That was one of the PS3 game changers for me.
Yeah. 100%.
Uncharted 1 was just solid, and then Uncharted 2 came in with the multiplayer as well. The multiplayer is so fun, especially when you're playing with a team of people. It's so fun. And then they kept building on it, but Uncharted 2 I think is still peak for me. Uncharted 2 multiplayer.
Oh, multiplayer.
Yeah. Story as well, like it's top of my list. I think I mentioned before, but the multiplayer as well was pretty solid.
Was it like different game modes on the multiplayer? Was it like capture the flag? Was it just like all just team deathmatch kind of stuff? Because I know like with Naughty Dog they kind of have like specific categories for their multiplayer stuff. It's not just like run and kill the other team and that's it.
I think they might have had at least a capture flag, but I'm not sure if I'm thinking of like 3 or 4 where they've still got the old maps in. I think they definitely added more game modes, but I feel like Uncharted 2 was mainly deathmatch.
Fair.
And maybe different types of deathmatch as well. But yeah, it was still fun to keep playing. The Souls series of games.
No.
Like, I haven't kept up with from the beginning, but like since Bloodborne, I played Dark Souls 3, played Elden Ring, and I'm just there for anything else they have to put out because I just love those kinds of games.
Have you seen the new Elden Ring DLC trailer?
Yes, blew my mind.
That looks fucking insane. That does look like it's worth a buy.
I think that comes out pretty close to our birthdays.
I think it does 21st of June.
21st, yes.
21st, in between,
yeah. Figure out what I'm doing
You
that day.
summer babies. So cute.
Yeah,
you also obviously play a franchise phrase that you beautifully hosted and kind of guided us through.
Yes, there's a whole podcast, 3-hour podcast on the Kingdom Hearts series.
One of the best fucking explanations, illustrations, and guide to a gaming world that big and confusing.
Things did make a lot more sense. Yeah,
mate. Honest to God,
I think so.
if anyone wants to ever just not be entertained but fucking educated about Kingdom Hearts, go listen to that episode. Don't worry about other people's YouTube go listen to Fraser explain this, and you will know more, and you will have fun.
And it's just the first 3 as well, because there is at least 13 games in total, so 10 more to talk about.
I don't think we've got that many hours, Fraser.
If we definitely did touch on those, and there is like a goal for that. So if you guys play through Kingdom Hearts 1, then I will dive into it a bit more. But I won't spend as long on those ones as I did with the main ones. But yeah, I was about for all of those games as well. Because the collection came out on PS3. There was a collection. And then obviously they kept releasing collections, haven't they? And new games. But yeah, love the Kingdom Hearts series. I like the convoluted stories. I'm there for convoluted stories.
We know.
Yeah. And yeah, we mentioned Ninja Storm as well. Like playing through those games from the first one and seeing Naruto in 3D. And well, Cyber Connect. Is it Cyber Connect? Yeah, Cyber Connect.
Yeah, Cyber Connect, Bandai Namco. Yeah.
Yeah, they done really well in really visualizing everything in 3D.
Yeah, they have. I mean, like a lot of the mechanics are still the same from like the very first game, but jumping across to 4, you can see just how far along they've come with everything. But the variations, the characters, to the move sets, to just general mechanics of how everything feels and plays. Yeah, that's also another great game. Just like a little party game, chuck on with your mates, just have a bunch of fucking fun. Yeah.
As like a standalone game for like story and stuff, I'd say I enjoyed 2 the most.
Which one was 2? Was that the one was like it was open world with the story?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I think that was
like
one I remember.
Set zones kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that one. No, I think that was. I preferred having it like that, like an open world kind of explore sort of thing. Not maybe more open world, but just sort of unlocked kind of free roaming little things areas.
Yeah.
That was fun. I kind of missed that in 4. 4 was just battle after battle, right? Like on like a timeline.
Yeah, it was just follow the story, and I guess it kind of makes sense for where they were in the story.
Yeah.
But 2 did it really well, and I remember borrowing 3 from you. I think 3 did it quite well.
Yeah.
But 2 just stuck with me.
They were good games, man. They were good games.
Yeah. Woo! We've had a good. I think in our time playing games, I think we've been blessed a little bit.
We have. We've been around for some great.
In terms of media, we've been in quite a good generation where like music's become way more accessible. Games were being established. We've gone through something like the birth of the MCU. Like we've kind of had in our media world, we've kind of had a lot of good stuff, and we've
had our fair share, right?
We've enjoyed the sweet spot before things got too saturated. Before it became a way of life, it was more of a novelty, more of a it was a DLC to life rather than just this is life sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I actually. Sorry, I don't know how many more questions you've got for us, but I've got a couple of questions that I kind of jotted down out of curiosity.
Cool.
So I'm just wondering, it's because Rick has mentioned something like this in his past. As kids, obviously, we tried to play a lot of games that we either didn't get or that were too big for us, too complicated, or sometimes it's a game that you loved and you get to a certain point and you are just stuck. You can't figure it out. Either the people... you got no friends that know it or no family that can help you, whatever. Have you ever had games that you've been stuck on, or even like Rikesh's, first level of Metal Gear, and then only years later when you grew a bit more capable that you came back to and eventually finished that game or finished that level?
Ooh. Oh, good question. I will say that, like, my mum used to say back when I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog, like, the music of the first level used to do a head in on the
yeah
because that's all you would hear. The Green Hill Zone theme, because it's the best level, and all the levels after that were hard.
my mum still to this day says the same thing about Ocarina. She goes, hearing that in the background, she goes, "It's to fucking drive me crazy." And then Tanya,
what a tune!
Tanya mentioned that she bought me Breath of the Wild. And my mum still must be fucking traumatized. She's like, "What? Another Zelda game?" She goes, "Tanya gonna fucking hate you." Like, she's still like, "It's that game. I still hate the song to that game." And I'm like, I didn't realize much. She's like, "I never said anything to you. I didn't want to ruin your fun, but that game in the background constantly, yeah. I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, mum." Yeah.
Bless her.
Do you know what? I didn't complete Majora's Mask until quite late. Until after, like, it's been out for a number of years.
That's a confusing game.
That is a confusing game.
And that was, I probably complete that when it was on the Wii or something like that. In terms of getting stuck,
I think in being stuck, I remember playing Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, and I think it was somewhere near like the last 5% of the game, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like this very long.
The rooms, and you go up at each level. You go into a
No,
room.
no. That I eventually figured out because it was
okay,
like a sound drop you had to listen to.
Yes,
or something.
Yeah, it was a droplet. Yeah.
But at some point, like you had to climb up this massive chimney-looking thing, and you got to the very top, and you could kind of like see the city in the background. And I don't know what it was, but you had to like go from being inside of this chimney or whatever it was to being on the outside, and you had to jump over to something else. But no matter what I tried, I could never get to the next bit. So I was always stuck in like the top of this, whatever it was, this chimney-looking thing, and I didn't any direction I jumped in, I would just fall to my death every single time. So I never managed to finish Sands of Time because I was always stuck on that bit, and I was just like, fuck it, and I left it. So I never actually.
What the hell are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I just kind of like I don't know what I'm doing. So I
think you just start doing random shit because it doesn't make sense.
I think that's the worst type of stuck, especially back in the day where it wasn't the checkpoints. Well, either the checkpoints didn't exist or they just weren't as forgiving. You had to reload the game. Right? If you're stuck in a room or a point, you will push it a little bit further until you get frustrated, turn it off, and then try the next step. But if it's one of those ones where you try one thing, you fall to your death, game over, reload, reclimb the tower, like that is much more tiring when you get stuck.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but that was me getting stuck.
I mean, you mentioned Metal Gear and getting to the lift or the elevator. I mean, that wasn't stuck. You just weren't old enough to understand.
Yeah, like I think when first playing Metal Gear, we're talking like primary school age, whatever that is, like 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever you are. So I didn't realize that it was like more to it than that. But obviously, years later, when I eventually came back to it and played it all over again, I realized there is a whole fucking game past that elevator. It was when I kind of realized, like, holy shit, this is a big game. It's a great game, and Hideo Kojima is just a fucking god. And
I was gonna say the worship began.
Yeah.
I would say it was kind of similar for me with Prince of Persia as well. I mean, I remember in PS2 days, there was a game that I got stuck on, but this wasn't when I went back to. And it was for one simple reason. And I got stuck in the tutorial. You know, when like games were a bit, not even like show you on the screen, like they were like, you're in a white room and there's white blocks, or like really basic tutorials.
Yeah.
And it was just like, pardon?
Did you get stuck in the tutorial?
I got stuck in the tutorial for one simple reason, right? Because I got to a point where obviously be like, press X is jump, press square is punch, whatever. And it was like, get to this point, press L3. And I could not, for the life of me, understand what the hell L3 or R3 was. Mate, I pressed
DualShock 2,
it was a DualShock, obviously, by that point, but I never, ever heard of an L3. I'm like, this is bullshit. I can see L1, I can see L2 and R1 and L. What the hell is L3? Oh, that, and to this day, I will never. I will still remember the room. I can't remember the game, but I still remember. Like, I took the game out. I was like, I can't finish this. Never went back to it. Left it alone, and then I learned L3 years later. Like PS3, I learned it. But PS3, I remember getting stuck on the second Prince of Persia, The Warrior Within. I remember because I think there was a combination of two things. One, I didn't understand what overwriting data was on saving. I thought it meant you delete it. So I kept resaving a new save file. Back in the day, it wasn't like three saves max. You could save up to 20. So that alone messed myself up. I didn't know where I was because the save files were all confusing. But there was a point in the game where you had to jump from the past and the future. It was one of those games where you would traverse the whole game, and then you would have to backtrack on yourself. So it'd be like, right, to get past this bridge, you have to go into the past because the bridge is built there. All right, cool. Right, now you got to go into the present because in the past there's a door. You go into the present, and then that door is not there. For example, I'm kind of paraphrasing.
Okay.
So it was a lot of time travel and jumping of past and present. Mate, it was so confusing. I got so overwhelmed. I had to leave the game. I had to leave it. The third game came out years later. I finished the third game, and then I was old enough to say, let me go back, and I restarted the second game, and then finally understood what the hell happened.
Do you know why? You've doubled your confusion because you got the time traveling game, and then you've also got the time travel in your individual save files.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Just double fuck yourself over.
Mate, I was baffled. I was baffled. It was one of the first times I had to because it's there's one thing to have an open world game and you can go to a certain point and it unlocks a narrative. It's another thing where you're traveling backwards and forwards and you're backtracking. It's not move forward, the game moves forward. You have to go back. Mate, that was one of those games that I had to go back to maybe 5-6 years later that I could do. Because the third game came out and I finished it, and then I went back to the second game in the franchise. And then I replayed them all anyway because I loved it.
They are good games. They're good games.
I remember like back in the day, if you got to a water level, for me that was just like, I hate this level.
That is
swim underground.
That's the Sonic
stamina.
That's Sonic trauma.
There's a bit of Sonic trauma. It's in Banjo-Kazooie as well. Like the third level in is a water level, and I just bypassed it. You can bypass it right up until the very end, which is when you don't have enough collectibles to actually finish the game. So you do have to go and play that level. So yeah, that was one hurdle, I guess. I did have another sort of. Oh yeah, of course, because I used to bring Kingdom Hearts to your house, and I was like, "Do you mind if I just keep fighting this boss? Because I need to do it. I'm on a roll."
I love it. Another friend that came round with the whole console and was like, "Hey, I know we're here to talk. Can I just plug in and play?" And I was like, "Again, by all means, go for it." And we'll just watch Fraser do this thing and be like, "What is he doing? Why is he doing it? How is he doing it?" Just baffled.
Again, yeah, just
Fraser
questions after questions watching Fraser play that game.
That's the thing.
For those listening that know, it was Lingering Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you, Lingering Will.
But that was the problem, was Fraser would be suffering and stuck, but none of us could help him. And he could talk to, he would be like, yeah, oh, the guy's doing this, this, and this. It's because he's in this particular world and he's triggered this event. And we would have no idea what the fuck is. So this man would come and just suffer alone as the rest of us just spoke about our day. Oh, man.
And that was like the last fight I had to do. Before that, there was like 13 other fights called data fights, and those depended on how it goes because they can be quite difficult. You could get stuck on those for a little while, and they return in Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. So I definitely spent about maybe a week or two sessioning those 13 fights.
Damn.
Did you have any further questions?
The last one I had was, do you have any games that when you look back on, it's with love and nostalgia, but have you ever gone back to any of those idolized nostalgic games and ever been disappointed by them?
Sure, I have. Sure. Do you know what? Going back to like Pokemon Yellow, like it's clear like how limited it is. Like, for example, in Pokemon Yellow, you could get a fighting type Pokemon, but there's like no fighting type moves. If you didn't know,
is there no?
What?
There's one, and I think it's Low Kick. I think that's the only fighting type move in Pokemon Yellow.
What Pokemon is it?
You could get it on Mankey and you can get it on Machop, I guess.
Huh.
But yeah, there are some limitations that can make playing that. But you've got to like cast your mind back and play it like that, because otherwise it's going to be a very limiting game. Like if you don't, obviously your Pokemon don't have abilities and stuff. So like even if your Pokemon is floating in the air, it'll get hit by like ground moves and stuff. It's just little things like that. But it's not what brings you back to play it.
Seeing Pikachu walk around with you. It's the whole selling point for playing Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah. After the TV show.
I'm sure I have felt this way about other games.
Yeah, 100%. I can only
especially getting them on emulator and stuff.
I think I can only think of like maybe one game at the moment, but I know there's been games I've gone back to and been like, oh, this is not what I kind of remember it to be. But I guess it was a product of its time. Like I went back to Ocarina. I replayed Ocarina in my 20s, and I still equally enjoyed it. Like I was like, oh, this is how I remember it. Still the same vibe, and it keeps up. Maybe the N64 controller was a little bit painful to hold. I would say that was the only thing different. But one thing that, when we actually last went to Charlie's, and if you remember, obviously his cousin Joe was there, and he had on the Switch the N64 sort of access games. Like we played
Colosseum.
Pokemon Colosseum, loved it. Still hit the same spot for me. I was like, perfect. And then when you guys left, me, Charlie, and Jade played. And this is gonna be a controversial opinion, so please don't hurt me. We played GoldenEye, and we were like, let's play co-op, not co-op. Sorry, like PvP. Mate, still a fantastic game, but the controls and aiming was so awkward and difficult that we were like, we're struggling. We're standing in the same room and none of us can get a direct hit on each other. Like it was that bad for us. And it was like, we can't do this. We can't. This is more of a product of its time. I can't go back. The aiming to stand still and move just either your view or put the aim and the sight on and move it around the screen, or it's inverted. Could not fucking do it, mate.
Yeah, I remember the controls for GoldenEye being kind of fucky, even when it was back in the day. I think you just kind of made do with it. It was the only thing you had at the time, so it was like, you kind of just figured it out, right? But yeah, I do remember like it was like a weird, but you had to press a button to look at other direction. It was like it wasn't the joystick that you moved,
and then you you
got to do that.
Then you move around,
it was around,
which meant that you had to be out in the open. So you would be open to be shot as well. So it wasn't like you could duck and cover and all that shit. It was like you have to see them.
And then it's just two people shooting at each other.
And it's just two people who can get the best headshots and shit like that. It's still a fantastic game. It didn't disappoint me, I would say. But it was one of those moments.
I did a similar thing not too long ago, actually. Like literally on the N64. I just tried it out, and it just like it was definitely didn't age well. I was going to say Mario Kart.
Ooh, another controversial one.
Because Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube, when that came out, was sick. Like 2 players in one kart. You could even play 4 players, 2 players in one kart, 2 players in the other kart. You have 2 items, but if you try and come back to it now, just the way it plays just feels weird. Like it doesn't feel good to play.
I can imagine that would feel kind of weird.
Because
I remember like, when you switched, it wasn't like one person's like whoever's driving obviously controls us. When you switch, but you both have to press the switch button at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
But even playing like solo, it feels weird to play. Like they updated it after, like on the Wii ones that came out, they played a lot better. So you go back and it feels weird. And the same going back to the Nintendo 64 Mario Kart as well. It just feels weird and dated.
I can imagine that feeling a bit strange to play nowadays. The mechanics that it had. I can't think of many other old games that I've recently played to think that it wasn't what I lived up to be. Not that I can think of right now.
Do you know what? To be honest, if you went back and played like San Andreas or something, it would feel janky.
Definitely.
If you played GTA 5 or even GTA 4, to go back and play those blocky ones, they're going to feel weird.
Yeah.
I think San Andreas, in all fairness, was very fun, and that was my main one that I had, but still janky as hell. Like, I knew at the time it was janky. Like, trying to ride a bicycle, already annoying. The famous level of chasing that fucking train. Oh my god! I think that that was almost the moment where I'm like, I'm gonna leave this game and I'm gonna come back in 10 years' time. Like, it almost broke me trying to fucking catch that train.
Yeah, it's like you see the memes and you're just like, oh shit, it's actually you actually have to do this in a certain way, otherwise you're done. Yeah. I mean, mechanics and controllers, they update with the times, don't they?
True.
Unless they remaster a game properly, it does feel a bit janky sometimes going back to these things.
I think that was one thing I remember when I played, and I loved it. I played a remastered Skyward Sword on the Switch. Obviously, that was made for the Wii. Was it played for the Wii? Right.
So obviously made for the Wii. Yeah.
It was Wii, and you had to have the extra thing on it.
Yeah, so you had to have Joy-Cons, and it was all movement based, which you can technically do with the Switch, and you get to choose between the controls being like a standard controller or with the motion control. I chose the standard controller because I'm holding it in my hand. I'm not going to fucking shake the whole thing constantly. And I think the weirdest thing that I found was if you use the right stick with the standard controller setting, it would use your sword, which was kind of cool. Once you got used to it, you could really control the motion of the sword and the angles that you're going to hit the creatures, which is part of the game. But then you had to hold like I don't know what the Switch equivalent is, but like an L1 button.
ZL, I think.
Yeah. So you had to hold one of the back buttons basically, and that would then start moving the camera around for you. I think that was a weird
GoldenEye vibe.
Sort of. It wasn't as bad, and it was a very small adjustment, but it was one of those ones where I was retraining my brain to do that. And then after that Zelda game, I bought Tears of the Kingdom, and then my brain was still programmed. And I kept fucking tapping the left bumper button. I'm like, no, the right stick is just cameras. Jesus. And I had to like unlearn it again. But that was like a little change of like mechanics and time.
And I think that's because of, like, obviously back in the Nintendo 64, Z was on the back, and it was the
trigger button. It was
literally called Z targeting, wasn't it? So they've obviously kept it on the Z on your left as well.
Oh yeah, shit, that's right. The yellow button on the back, yeah.
And they kind of tried to keep it that way, I guess. Yeah, it would feel weird when they port a game over.
Yeah. I remember not liking Skyward Sword that much though, because of that with the janky mechanics.
Honest to God, though, I still put it out there. I've heard a few people say that Skyward Sword is one of the best or favorite of the Zelda franchises, and if you get through it, I would honestly agree. It is one of the best, and it does actually kind of connect more to Breath of the Wild and probably more to Tears of the Kingdom than you think. And I was so lucky that I played it just before, because there's a couple of obviously, I've not finished Tears of the Kingdom, so I don't know how much it will feed into, but there's a couple of little Easter eggs, even sound bites, and even little things where I'm like, oh, that exists because of Skyward Sword. This person, this thing is there because of this, and it just informs the picture a bit more, which is fucking awesome.
That's always nice. That's always nice, yeah.
If you were bored and you had nothing to play for a while, I would say just try and go back to Skyward Sword.
I thought you said bald.
So did I for a quick second. So did I.
So, wow.
I was like, oh, is that me?
Good advice.
Zelda's only for bald people? Let's go.
Shots are fired, bro. Yeah, man. If you ever shave your hair off, if you just, just shave it off entirely.
You'll love it. Enhances the experience.
It's a lifestyle choice, guys. I choose to be bald man, Rick. It's the persona.
Yeah. Another mask.
Two other Zelda games that I really like are Twilight Princess and Wind Waker.
Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess.
100% yes. Wind Waker, I never even gave it a chance because of the graphics. I could not get into that style. Yeah.
I
I've
like
heard
the
good
graphics of Wind
things.
Waker. I like them.
Let me just check it. Is it like the really kiddish one?
It is, yeah. Toon Link, they call it.
Yeah, I could never quite get into it. I liked more. I think like Twilight Princess is probably
Gritty.
My favorite incarnation
really
of Link.
Detailed graphics in it.
Yeah, I loved the game. I loved, but the
really
graphics style,
stylized.
I loved it, and I would say that's my favorite so far. And only below it is the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yes.
1 point.
Someone agreed. All right.
Cool. All right. Well, my final part of this poddy was just going to be talking about like gaming currently. I mean, we covered a couple of things throughout the poddy, but like, yeah, what are we doing currently, and is there anything we're looking forward to?
I think for the longest time I've stopped being up to date in general, and I think we've kind of started to buy the games that we look forward to the most and invest. I don't care what it is. So for me right now, it's still Tears of the Kingdom, and I've realized it's taken me over a year to finish it. And now I'm at the very end, but I'm still taking my time. I'm going to jump onto the little Prince of Persia game in the meantime, see what that does for me. But my next probably big jump for me is the next Spider-Man game, God of War 2. I would say on my next two, and there's nothing that I've really seen coming out that's excited me. So there's a lot of backlog games, I would really want to get Ghost of Tsushima on PS5.
That is an amazing game.
I would say, they're my next jumps, but there's nothing that I've seen so far coming out that I'm like, oh shit, I need to be ready for this.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's the state of play at the moment. I think you just got to choose what you're into, 1 or 2 games, and kind of tackle it that way, I think. And we're not really being drowned in games anyway, I don't think, at the moment. Probably were a couple of years ago.
I think a few years ago we kind of hit another peak of gaming where things was just like
in the same year God of War and Spider-Man 1 came out was a peak year for gaming, and Persona 5 came out for us, and I was like, whoa.
We've kind of hit a bit of a lull with games recently. There's been a few things popped up here and there, but I think we're not due for another big year for games for at least like another
I think it just
gives
you time to play them, right, without having to worry about your next £60 purchase or whatever it's going to be.
That's true.
Jesus, tell me about it.
Very, very true. Unless you're on Game Pass, then it's all free.
Game Pass.
Game Pass.
Game Pass. Right now.
And I mean, other than Persona 3 at the moment, all I'm going to be playing after that is the Metal Gear Collection, and then Delta whenever it does get a release date. But other than that, man, not much else on the cards. There's a Death Stranding 2, which will be a good one whenever Kojima does that. And his next project, which is Fizz Int, currently working title, but that's going to be Kojima's next espionage action espionage game. So that's going to be that's going to be another big one. It's going to be another game changer.
Here, and I think I saw this on Kojima's Insta pop up, that they're gonna plan either a TV show or film of Death Stranding.
It's already out, documentary on Disney Plus, Connecting Worlds.
A documentary.
Oh, it's a documentary.
Yeah, like the making of the game of Death Stranding, and just I think it's about that. I haven't actually watched it yet. Been waiting for this one to hurry up with it. But
no, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think it's like a making of the game, or just like his ideas in general. But once I watch it, I will let you guys know.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to get into the world of Kojima and see how he does stuff.
I feel like my brain would turn into the guy from Indiana Jones with the crystal skull, and just too much knowledge, and his face just melts.
Comes to the next podcast in a mask.
So, guys, funny story.
What about you, Fraser? What is happening now in the gaming world, and what do you feel like is coming next for you?
Well, Tekken 8 came out not too long ago.
Yes.
Played a few rounds in that. It's a very fun Tekken to play. Like step up from 3, from 7.
Well, I would imagine from 3, yeah.
Definitely from 3, yeah. But yeah, Tekken 8, it's really cool. The story is very strange. Like they go very anime.
Always has been.
It always has been, hasn't it? It is like it's just weird. It's just weird.
Worth a buy?
But the game is solid.
Do you reckon it's worth a buy?
Oh yeah, worth a buy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's the best fighting game out now, I believe. Like overtook Street Fighter 6 for sure. I think people have dropped off of that a bit. It's still around. I think it's still probably sold more, but I think Tekken is climbing rapidly. Yeah. Is anything else? I don't think there's really anything else outside of anime fighters at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, Juju dropped and a fighting game recently, didn't they?
Who?
Jujutsu Kaisen. They dropped.
Oh yes, but that does not look. That looks.
It doesn't look great. I thought it was going to be like a Naruto kind of thing, but it's just another fighting game.
It looks more like that Naruto Shinobi Strikers game.
Yeah.
Kind of odd.
Yeah, it doesn't look amazing, but you know, maybe they'll make another game more like Naruto back in like Ninja Storm kind of thing. That could be kind of sick to play.
Yeah. But currently, I guess I'm between. Aside from the odd Tekken match, I play a bit of Power World. I spent like 4 hours playing Power World last night.
Charlie's
such a good game
to us.
It's a nice game to kind of chill in, actually.
It actually is. It weirdly is.
Weirdly is. And just do a little like, just sitting there and being like, yeah, this is what Pokemon should have done. Like, this is what I wanted to feel like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Pokemon with guns. This is literally Pokemon meets COD.
Mm-hmm.
It's great though.
And Breath of the Wild.
Game. Yeah.
And Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very particular combination of 3 games, which actually I'm glad it works.
It does work really well. Yeah.
It does. It's doing well. But did you see that there was actually a new Pokemon game announced? I think it was last night. It's Pokemon Legends Z, something like that. You know the last Pokemon Legends game that came out.
Yeah,
was like set in the past.
Right? Yeah.
This one looks like it's going to be set in the city. There was no gameplay.
Oh, ZA it's called.
Yeah.
Pokemon ZA. Yeah, announced for 2025. And it's futuristic.
And I couldn't help but wonder: is this like their answer? Or it's obviously been in development, but is it going to be able to compete? I wonder.
I reckon it can. It's got the IP is strong enough where it's going to pull enough people that they're going to give it a chance. Some people are dedicated enough that if it has the word Pokemon on it, they're going to buy it and they're going to play it regardless.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And if Pokemon can make a point, I would say even Charlie's not as hardcore as some of the hardcore fans. But if they make a good enough point or it justifies itself as something new, then yeah. I would say that it could compete.
People are definitely going to make the comparisons, aren't they?
Yeah,
so this is the newest thing to come out. Is it better?
But yeah, I think it's Pokemon they've got that reputation now where they're going to make a new game every few years, whether it's good or not. And I heard that the last one that they made was just extremely buggy and unplayable as it was. So that's always never a good rep to have anyway.
Underwhelming for sure.
Yeah. So maybe it'll be good. Maybe, but I think it's maybe one of those ones that you can just wait for a couple of months, see how let everyone else take the first charge, see if it's any good, wait for the reviews to come out, see what it's like. I feel like I could do with another good Pokemon game. It's been a very long time since I've like properly sunk into a Pokemon game.
I wish they would either remaster or Or just do one that is like a proper old school one. I would love a proper top-down 8-bit version with just like
That would
in
be
the
good.
Switch in your hand, like just define
widescreen 8-bit.
Yeah, man, and just make
Or
the
like
story
Game Boy Advance kind
crazy.
of looking stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's. I would love to go back to, because that is again that sweet spot that we started on the podium, where it's like a phone it's like that Tetris addictiveness, but with a long, deep narrative and options. Just give me fucking options. I would love that. Maybe make the fighting scenes, maybe a bit more 3D, a bit more dynamic, but just keep the. I would love to go back to that vibe. I don't like Pokemon in 3D, in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It does feel a
to
bit
me either.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully they come back, because Pokemon for us especially is in that nostalgia zone, and we hate to see him do badly.
True.
And then there's one more game for me that has come out in the past couple of weeks. It's called Helldivers 2.
I've heard so much about this game so far. Everyone is going fucking mad over it. Like they crashed the servers because they didn't have enough people online or something.
For some reason, they didn't account for the amount of people that were going to buy this game, even though their pre-orders vastly surpassed their server size. And getting online was a mission, but now it works and it's glorious.
Yeah,
it looks good. Damn,
I might have to get that one. I think it's like an online party sort of thing. You work as a team, like friendly fire is on and everything like that as well.
It looks a bit somewhere between like Halo and Destiny.
People have said it's pretty much like Starship Troopers. I don't know much about Starship Troopers, but it's you're basically on a patriotic campaign to spread democracy throughout the star system. And
sounds a bit sus, but
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what it is.
Doesn't sound like colonization at all. Like,
no way. I mean, you are fighting against bugs and automatons, so.
Well, that's okay then.
Don't have to feel too.
All right then. That makes it okay.
Yeah, don't have to feel too bad about it. But it's cool. You get sent down to the planet's surface and you complete your mission, and you try and get out of there. And like you said, friendly fire's on. You could get overwhelmed. You can overwhelm the enemy. And it's just a vibe. It's really cool.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it so far. I think if we all were all to jump on it in some kind of way, then that could be a very good time. That could be fun.
It'd be very funny as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's my top recommendation for games out there currently. Have we all done it? Have we all gone one of them?
Yeah. You were the last one.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Then that's all I have, and I think that's good timing as well.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good
2
stuff,
hours.
Fraze.
It's more than enough.
Nice little fun little game catch up.
Yeah, man. Gets you in the mood to play some, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's go.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and thank you all the listeners at home. I've been Fraser.
I've been Rick.
And my head hurts, so I have been surviving Serhan. Yeah.
No games for you, Serhan.
No games for you.
No games. No TV. No games.
Straight to
no radio.
Off
Fine. I'll do my second favorite hobby. I'll just sit in the room in the dark, thinking about games. Ha! You can't take that away from me.
Thinking about Spider-Man 2.
Not really. I've got like a 25-year-old game of Tetris going in my head, and I'm like, I'm never gonna give up. Never surrender.
Losing to a mental game of Tetris.
God damn it.